Alright, so I know I'm a little late to the party, about 2 weeks and 2 days from when this blog was released, but I think it's important to go over this even now, especially because there are some purported new announcements coming out at the beginning of the year, which coincidentally is tomorrow. Monday. So I think this is a good exercise in looking at how companies utilize their PR teams to try to circumvent legitimate transgressions that the community has voiced in a way that allows them to look like they're addressing the problem, but also not address it simultaneously and kind of deflect blame. So when we go through this article, I just kind of want you to keep a couple of things in mind as we go through it, line by line, paragraph by paragraph. One, this is a company, and really companies only ever care about their bottom line. That is true no matter what company it is, no matter what political view you think a certain company is advancing. All they care about is their bottom line, and the company will go with what their bottom line gives them. Now, this is simply just PR damage control and nothing more. It is important to remember that the backdrop to this press release or blog post is a complete fumbling of the Total War forums, where they they actually admitted going mask off with how they approach the forums and the people who have issues with the games and also voice those concerns. It is also important to remember that tone and word choice matter in these sorts of PR blog posts. And both the word choice and the tone of this blog post betray Creative Assembly's true intentions here. And we're going to go through that as we go through the actual post. So, if you truly love this game, and this non-apology post is enough for you, nothing is really going to change. Maybe there's going to be some illusion of some change. Maybe some inconsequential changes will be made just to give the, illusion of a change. But nothing will truly change. And many people also reviewed this post. I'll link it back. So I'll try to, relate it to something else. Whenever you see a court filing in the United States Supreme Court or the International Criminal Court or things that happen at a high level, there are dozens, if not hundreds of eyes looking at whatever is being submitted. And that is no different for this sort of thing, especially with all the fumblings they had during the whole forum meltdown. So it's just important to keep that in mind, that a lot of people read this, a lot of people had input, and it was specifically tailored for the message it's giving you. Now, I think that they messed up. I don't think they did a very good job. And by a very good job, I mean, if they wanted, they could have gone one of two routes. One, hire someone who is so good at this that even people who have some sort of training in this would have difficulty spotting the PR buzzwords and bullshit, or actually be sincere about what they want to do and change everything and make it better. Neither of those two things happened, as we will get into this. So we can start this one off with Roger Cullum, the Vice President of Creative Assembly. So if you ever look at politics specifically, the president will have his vice president handle a lot of, PR or just, ceremonial sorts of engagements. This is kind of similar. This wasn't important enough for the president to attend, but they're going to give it some lip service and send the vice president out to make a statement to seem like there's some sort of legitimacy. So this was likely delegated to him, or at the very least he was told to put his name on it, and he said sure, because he didn't write this himself. Once again, this was created by a team of people at Creative Assembly. So just keep that in mind, right? A lot of real world politics and the way things are done in PR and media just equally apply to this post at a smaller level. So I am Roger Colum, Vice President at Creative Assembly, and writing on behalf of our Total War leadership team. Now, this announcement makes no mention of any leadership changes, but instead attempts to reframe the situation as under control, right? I am the Vice President. I'm here to discuss this matter with you. Everything is under control. Listen, guys, we have a plan. That is the tone that is being set, with Roger Colum being this voice for the leadership team. To the person with experience in this sort of thing, and by the way, my credentials are I carefully craft words and break down sentence and words meticulously as a part of my job. This is just a token post. This is not serious whatsoever. It has been a difficult few months, and we recognize that we have made mistakes when it comes to our relationship with you all. It has been a constant conversation internally on how we get back to solid ground. What's clear is that it won't be easy and that it will take time and effort. Now, I want to point out that we recognize that we have made mistakes when it comes to our relationship with you all. It is very strange language to use. Mostly because there is no relationship, right? This is a business. They create a game. They give it to you. You buy it. You rate it. Whatever. This is an overcorrection of their view of the player base. If you remember on the forums, or I forgot where they posted it, but basically of them saying, just because you buy the game doesn't give you the right to talk about it on our forums. This is that kind of overcorrection. Like, listen, guys, we have a relationship with you. We're close to each other. This is us trying to have our mea culpa. We made some mistakes. Now, this is also just kind of very open-ended and vague, and you do not know what they really did wrong or what they will admit to doing wrong. Right? It's a mistake. Now, I disagree. I don't think this was a mistake at all. This has all been intentional. But, once again, keep in mind, tone. Tone is setting the stage here. Mistake. Relationship. Trust. We care about you. All of that. And that just doesn't make sense when it's a company. Especially with people who clearly don't make good games for years. But we'll get into that. Now, we see the confusion, the frustration, and the distrust of us across the community, and honestly, it breaks our hearts. We make games to bring you joy, to inspire a love of history, of fantasy, and strategy games. Total War is our everything, and we care about it as deeply as you. Recently, it's clear that we have failed to demonstrate that in our actions. Now, this is a really packed paragraph, just because of all the BS that it's laying the groundwork for. any company that tells you it breaks their hearts that something has happened is just automatically just a company to distrust. Once again, company, business, bottom line. That's all that matters. And they already admitted that they went mask off, and don't think that just because you purchased the game, it gives you a right to speak on the problems it has in the forums of that game. This is a complete 180. It's incredibly disingenuous. Would you trust one of your friends if they had this massive mask off moment and then did a complete 180? Most people would probably label that person as bipolar or borderline personality disorder or something of that sort. Now, let's just continue to get into this. So, we see the confusion. Confusion, let's break this down a little bit, right? Confusion precedes frustration and distrust. And this is important because it serves as a primer for the reader, you, the fans, to ascribe the frustration and distrust to a confused player base. Not because they have actually messed up, but because you are confused. That's what this is trying to prime you for. And that is also incredibly just dishonest and just really dirty. I really don't understand why they did what they did here. We make games to bring you joy, to inspire a love of history, of fantasy, and strategy games. Now, this is just completely untrue because they have repeatedly released unfinished games and DLCs, and this has been an ongoing pattern that other content creators, or if you hate that term, YouTubers who record what they do, have expressed frustration with, right? These games are not finished. They have problems. Warhammer 3 clearly was not finished before it was released, and they still released it. It wasn't until it became a huge problem with the whole community that they decided to even think about mentioning something. Total War is our everything, and we care about it as deeply as you. Now, I don't know about you, but my understanding is the person who's typing this, or the people who are working on this, don't even play the game. That's not what they do. Their job is to make sure that the numbers are good for the company, make sure that marketing is good, and make sure that the game runs well enough so that people are just happy enough to play the game. If they loved it, they would not push out these shitty games and charge you so much money. The love they really have is with the money that it has printed for them. That's it. That is it. Now that it's actually affecting the bottom line, once again, backdrop of Pharaoh doing horribly, now they're going to dedicate some attention to reshaping your understanding of what's going on to save themselves. Recently, it's clear that we have failed to demonstrate that in our actions. First, it is not recent whatsoever. Only the backlash really is, and that's on a greater scale. The backlash has been there from other YouTubers, right? Who have been part of programs that have been either let go from, cut off from, gaslighted and shit on by the community like Volan. This is just so disingenuous. The problem has been there for a very long time, years, if not a decade, years. And they've been told about this, and they chose not to do anything up until this point. Now, people, let's see. People have been complaining, as I said, for years, and those people have been outright ostracized by this corporate machine. If you want a really good example, if you look at the forums with Grace versus Voland, she was just completely disingenuous the whole time throughout that. Even strategically editing her comments after the posts were locked and a couple of days had passed to kind of reframe what was going on and put a lot of it on him after thousands and thousands of people were targeting and harassing him. And that was the community manager at the time. Now, she got out of this in time, but she got away with murder. She should really also be receiving a crap ton of backlash. And it's really sad that she hasn't. because she intentionally manipulated a lot of online men just because she was a girl in the gaming industry to try to like build some sort of rapport and legitimacy in the community. She used the player base, the fan base, and ultimately still was not taken seriously by the company that she was basically selling her soul for. And I don't condone sexual harassment. I don't think she deserved that. But she definitely deserved something. And she should probably just be blacklisted from the industry as a whole. So now we get to We Are Sorry. Once again, it is not clear what they are sorry for. They have not said anything that they have done wrong. All they have said is that they've made some vague allusion to mistakes, to the relationship, right? None of this is real. And they have not identified what they're sorry for. And they don't really do that in the following paragraphs and sentences. So let's move on to those. We cannot fix our issues overnight, but we will work towards a more transparent and consistent relationship with you all. Once again, take issue with the framing of a relationship with you. You are not in a relationship with this company. You are someone who buys the game and enjoys it, and your feedback should directly influence, if it's legitimate, the way the game runs. This isn't, oh, I'm friends with CA. Oh, CA really cares about me. They don't. And all that has been going on for years has demonstrated that. But here we go. We cannot fix our issues overnight. What issues? We still haven't talked about what these issues are. Once again, intentionally vague. Not admitting it without admitting it. So really like a non-apology. And it's the same concept. But we will work towards a more transparent and consistent relationship with you all. This isn't even really committal, first of all. What does that even really mean? What level is it at now, right? What level of transparency are they at? What level of consistency are they at right now? We don't even know where the starting point of their problem is or the issues that they're even alluding to. So no examples are provided, right? It's not, oh, we had this issue. We're going to be more transparent about this issue, and we're going to be more consistent about that transparency and make sure that this doesn't happen moving forward. And if it does, we will work to make sure that there's a system in place so that we are consistently addressing it in a way that actually provides a resolution and a fix to the problem. None of that is being said. Keep that in mind. Total War is a big and complex ship to steer, built on decades of knowledge, passion, and technology. The slow and steady pace we've taken up till now has benefited us in the past, but today we see the need to react faster to help address the challenges that are ahead of us. Now, the first sentence here, Total War is a big and complex ship to steer, built on decades of knowledge, passion, and technology, is mitigating their responsibility. So here they've said they've made a mistake. Here they said they're sorry. Here they say they have issues. But once we get to this part, it's not necessarily their fault. And this is why. These are why it's a mistake. These are why we have issues. Because it's hard. This is a hard thing to do, right? They're mitigating responsibility. This isn't hard. Or to the extent it is hard, it's because they've forced themselves to build on an old engine that they refuse to invest in. Just basically trying to duct tape it together every release. And that is a self-inflicted, complex quote-unquote ship to steer. But the solution is very easy. They just don't want to implement it. So this is just an attempt at mitigating responsibility. It's also very vague. It is not really complex. This issue complained about were pointed out a long time ago. Marketing was in control to the detriment of the company. And this is what was leaked before. We all know this now. So this is just even more of a slap in the face. The fact that a lot of information has been leaked, and this is still the word choice they choose. So, the slow and steady pace we've taken up until now has benefited us in the past. But today we see a need to react faster to help address the challenges that are ahead of us. Once again, oh, this is something that worked in the past, something changed, we didn't adapt, that's on us, maybe, but, we're going to work to fix it. The slow and steady pace was because no one was outright complaining, but the games were still poorly made and still had many issues that were unaddressed. So, it is not slow. It is not even incompetence. It is highly orchestrated negligence. You do not need to react faster if the product is good. This is an implicit admission, and it's so obvious that the problem is they just never cared to begin with. This is what happens when you pump out a game every quarter, year, 6 months, whatever, or content, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's about making as much money per quarter as possible. That's it. By the way, apparently they misspelled Pharaoh throughout this whole thing before editing it. So that also goes to show you that despite the many people looking at this to try to set the tone and damage control, they still couldn't get it right. But let's keep going. So let's talk about those challenges and what you can expect from both Total War Warhammer 3 and Total War Pharaoh going forward. Okay, let's move on to Total War Warhammer 3. We have listened to your feedback on Shadows of Change, and we know that we have failed to meet your expectations of what a DLC should be. To address that, we are enhancing our offer for everyone who purchased Shadows of Change with more content and a commitment to ensuring that we better meet your expectations going forward. Okay, so let's break this down. We have listened to your feedback on Shadows of Change, and we failed to meet your expectations of what a DLC should be. In other words, this was completely intentional, and the entire plan was to release shitty DLCs. Once again, the failure is to meet the player base's expectations. Not that they have intentionally fucked up, or that they had issues that they didn't care about, right? Everything here is being reframed, refocused, and shifted to the player base. It seems like an apology, it seems like an understanding of the problem, but the only understanding that is being conveyed here in terms of what the problem is, oh, our bottom line's been impacted. So clearly they're not happy. But we don't really care if they're happy. We just want them to be happy enough to pay for the fucking game. This is a company that's been making games for a very long time. They know what the expectation of the player base is. They just chose not to care. And they still don't accept responsibility for it. And also, this last sentence to address, blah, 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 that's just there to make you feel good about it. They're not doing anything to actually change anything. And we'll get into that in the subsequent paragraphs. So, we're targeting a major update to Shadows of Change, which will arrive free to everyone who owns it. Okay, so CA is admitting that this DLC is just inadequate. It's so inadequate that they're willing to give it to everyone for free if you already own the game, which it should just be free, but okay. This is just more proof that the DLC price was never justified because they're now willing to give it away for free and purportedly invest even more resources to make sure it's good before it's released. So they could have always done that. And there was a whole post by Rob in August of 2023 dedicated to conveying the player base, or dedicated to convincing the player base, that the increase in DLC price was not only justified but necessary because of costs. So they had Rob do this whole post, I don't know if everyone remembers, in August of 2023, just to now tell you, hey, that was just kind of all bullshit. We're going to give it to you for free. And we always could have. And, not a problem. So keep that in mind, right? This is corporate doublespeak. This is also the 180 I was talking about. This is like a bipolar. This is like you go to Amazon and you see something on sale for $200 and it was originally $400 and you're like, oh, this is a great deal. But when you really think about it, you're like, was it ever really $400? Or the $400 is there just to contrast to make it seem like you're getting a good deal when it's really not even worth $200. Think of it that way. We have a goal of releasing this update in February 2024, at which point it will become part of the package for everyone who buys it in the future. I fail to see how this is good or some sort of positive thing. You're stating that a fix to a DLC to fix the initial shitty release is free. Congrats. I mean, no shit, it should be free. You're not doing us a favor as the fan base or player base. It should have never been this bad, and any DLC release to actually fix it and charge for that fix is just fraud. I mean, it's just fraudulent business practices. And that's kind of their MO. That launch date is our ambition, but this isn't concrete. It may move. As soon as those plans are finalized, we'll let you know, and we'll keep you in the know as we get closer to its release. I guess the question I have here is why? If this is being posted in the release, they are already anticipating issues. And they are not being transparent. They want the credit for seeming like they are working hard to get something out as soon as possible, but are also providing themselves out to cuck behind. So, guys, we're trying to do this as soon as possible. We're aiming for February 2024, but also, things may happen and we probably won't get to it, or we may not get to it. Then why even state that? Other than to keep people interested long enough to try to find a solution. And not in some sincere way, right? Because if it was sincere, okay, sure, you want to let everyone know that you're working on it, here's a timeline, and we want you guys to stay engaged. But that's not what's happening here. When we return in the new year, you'll hear directly from game director Richard Aldridge and the Warhammer 3 team, who will start to talk to you about this expansion to Shadows of Change will look like. I mean, I don't even know what that means. We'll see, I guess. There's not really much to say about this, other than it's probably just going to be a bunch of empty bullshit. But remains to be seen, I guess. Making this right is important to us. And to do this properly, Thrones of Decay will move out of its intended release window of winter 2023. We're looking to launch this DLC in 2024. This is another implicit admission of the systemic problems within the company, and that what they planned on releasing was bullshit, because now they need an additional 4 months, or winter of 2023. Who knows what the fuck that means? That could be part of November, I don't know. But we're looking to launch this DLC in April 2024. So you have now seen what the issues are that people, well, not just now, you know what the issues are, but people have now complained. And based on those complaints, you've reassessed, allegedly, the issues with future DLCs, and you've decided that you need an additional 4 months to make those corrections, as well as corrections to other DLCs. That tells me that you understand that there are so many problems with this that you need that much extra time. Remains to be seen. We'll continue to track this. So, we also have more work to do on Thrones of Decay to make sure that we don't repeat our past mistakes, and to give you the amount of content that you rightly expect from us at these price points. Once we've launched our free update to Shadows of Change, remember, it's a free update, guys. Be thankful to us, even though we're the ones who initially released some fucked up shit. We'll talk more about what this next DLC will offer, and how it will add to your experiences in Warhammer 3. We'll make sure that you know exactly what's coming in Thrones of Decay before pre-orders are available, and make sure that you have full transparency around the content before you see buy now buttons. This is just more of the same in terms of admitting that there is a systemic problem within Creative Assembly, and a lot of this is top down, and they're really, aside from Rob being let go or changed, likely let go, even though they're keeping that as quiet as possible, there's really no leadership change that makes any difference here, right? These are people who have been stuck in their ways for at least a decade, and nothing is changing. I don't even know what this means, and make sure that you have full transparency around the content. What does that mean? We're going to be able to see what the game looks like in a trailer? Are you going to allow people to pre-play the game before buying it? What is full transparency around the content before you see it even mean? Intentionally vague. There's nothing here that's worth anything. It's just there to make you feel like they're working on something and that they care, which they don't. Since 4.0 went live, we've changed up how we approach making updates to the game, releasing 10 hotfixes, as well as patch 4.1, all targeting issues that we've seen emerging after each subsequent update, as well as introducing new features like skill point resets that help balance and improve the core experience of playing the game. This is not really... This is here to make it seem like they're working diligently to make sure that there are no issues with the game. But if you look at this number kind of betrays them, because they inserted this here to make it seem like they're working hard on a lot of things. But the fact that it required 10 hotfixes is a huge problem. Because hotfixes are for game-breaking or really or just updates that are really detrimental to the game and its ability to function. You shouldn't be releasing so many hotfixes. Usually the problem should be minor enough to where you have time to work on it for the next release of updates, right? We see this in other games like League of Legends, RuneScape, Dota, things like that. Hotfixes, once again, only reserved for the major problems, like when something is just broken because it's being used in a way that it wasn't intended to be used. So, this is not a positive as much as they're trying to spin it as one. It's an increase in the number of game updates that we usually release. Well, yeah. So, we don't usually have this problem, guys. This is just an increase because, we're working hard, and we want to keep this cadence of releases going forward. Why? You shouldn't have to. The game should be good enough to where all you need to do is have these scheduled updates that also have some minor fixes, because the minor fixes are so small, no one cared enough to even notice them or even knew they existed, but some people did, and you fixed it as part of your other updates to refine the game experience, not because you're trying to fix a shitty game. We can't commit to a fixed number of updates each month, as we'll ultimately release these based on content that we're building and the issues we see you raising that need our attention. In some ways, a good company to look at in terms of updates would be something like League of Legends. Not because the game is amazing or it doesn't have its issues, but because the updates are a lot more intentional, and they have scheduled updates that they usually just completely abide by, minus some new content release. And that content release is usually pretty good when it comes out. Sure, there are some tweaks that need to be made because you can't really assess every possible outcome, for example, of a new champion with new abilities and things like that. But a game that's even more complex than this is able to mitigate a lot of the problems Total War is having before the content is even released. However, over these last few months, we've released a game update roughly every 2 weeks, and where we can, we'd like to stick to that through 2024. Okay, I mean, that's not a great thing. Many games do this by default. Why? Because they care about the quality of the game and want to make sure that the player experience is constantly improving. Even if it's just old content that no longer generates as much money as new content. But notice here that this isn't a commitment. It's we want to keep it, not we will keep it. So, hey guys, give us credit for wanting to do this, right? Not that we will, because something may come up and we use it as an excuse, but we want to do this. So, at least we want to do it, guys, right? See, we want to make things better for you. It's not our fault, it's just mistakes. Anyway, let's move on to Total War Pharaoh. We want to make you aware of a decision that we've made internally surrounding the game, and what to expect with the DLC that we've been working on. There's some important information here that affects all owners of the game, so please read this part carefully. Now, why would you say that? This whole thing should be this. We should all be reading this carefully to make sure that you're not first bullshitting us, but also that you're actually addressing the problems, which you haven't really addressed. I mean, what are these 10 hotfixes? Why are so many updates? What is this sudden increase in uptick in updates? What exactly are the problems with Shadows of Change? What are the issues of Thrones of Decay that you are working on that has now caused you to push it back by at least 4 months? Who fucking knows? Now, in the next few days, all current owners of Total War Pharaoh will see that Steam has processed a partial refund to you, and that some funds have been added to your Steam wallet. This is happening because we have lowered the price of the game to a new RRP of all these different currencies. Now, there's really not much credit to give here because the game was just absolutely shit. It should have been a full refund, first of all, but this isn't like a positive point. You're only giving half, and it's only because there was so much backlash and because basically barely anyone plays this fucking game. Yeah. If you don't give a partial any kind of refund, really, people are going to think to themselves, why did I waste this much money on a fucking game that no one even plays? I mean, it should be a full refund. Anyway. We don't think it's fair that our fans who put their trust in us on Pharaoh should in any way feel disadvantaged for buying the game at the previous price. We've also removed the higher priced editions of the game, the Deluxe Edition and Dynasty Edition. There's now only one edition of the game available for purchase. Now, we don't think it's fair to our fans who put their trust in us on Pharaoh should in any way feel disadvantaged for buying the game at a previous price. First of all, it's a little strange that you would word it this way, because you openly shit on everyone in the forums, right? Right? You don't have a voice. Fuck you. It's like foie de gras. Just fucking let us stuff it down your throat and fatten you up until you're no longer useful, and we never gave a shit about you, so see ya. That's basically what this is. And no one should be taking this seriously in any really way, shape, or form. And we've also removed the higher priced editions of the game. There's not only one edition available for purchase. Why? Because you don't want to sell the game for a lower amount because you think it should be sold for a higher amount, or no one's buying it and it's so embarrassing that you want to make sure that the stats aren't kept up on it. I mean, who knows why they've done this? If the game is that problematic, why does it exist at all? Why aren't you removing everything? Anyway. Our next update, and what was originally our first paid DLC, will release early in 2024 as a free update for everyone who owns the game. We have plenty to show you about this now free addition to Pharaoh in the new year. Why is it free? Once again, we had a post from Rob in August of 2023 talking about why all these different things needed to have a price increase because of the economy or whatever the fuck he was talking about. And all of a sudden, we're getting all this stuff for free? I mean, who do they think is going to fall for this shit? We have now begun the process of reassessing what comes next for Pharaoh. And while we don't have the answers today, we want to make it clear to you that we are not closing the door on other, more ambitious updates for the game in the future. We've still got big plans, but we want to be honest with you and saying that we need to spend more time with them before putting them out on show. Yeah, because you have nothing. This is signaling to them that they have nothing. We've got big plans. We need to spend more time with them. Either it was never an idea and they need time to put something together, but also feign that they're doing something about the problem even though they're not. Or whatever they did have was so bad that now they have to go back to the drawing board. It's one of those two. Whilst we have removed the Dynasty edition of the game from our lineup and have internally changed up our plans for what we go on to do next, we'll still be releasing incremental updates to the game that help to bring fixes and changes to the core experience along the way. One plan that we have always had since early stage of development on Pharaoh is to expand the size of our campaign map as a free update. One plan that we've always had since the early stages of development of Pharaoh is to expand the size of our campaign map as a free update. Bullshit. And to introduce even more factions and cultures to the game. We'll have more to say and to show. What that looks like in the new year after our next update for Pharaoh's releases. So, everything that has ever been released, maybe not everything, but a large portion, especially updates to games, have not been really free. So, I don't understand how this is just... First of all, I'm not giving you credit for having this plan. There's no way for me to verify that, and given your track record, it's just not true. And you're trying to take credit for something, even if it was a plan, that you never fucking implemented. So once again, I'm not giving you credit for this, and this is just bullshit, and you have no credibility. I mean, it's just embarrassing. And once again, this is all... Well, wait, let me not get ahead of myself. So, we are very proud of our teammates. I don't know who those people are. And grateful to all the players who picked up Pharaoh. To those players, the team are forever reading all of your comments and feedback with the goal of bringing you fixes and changes that catch us up with the things that we've missed. Okay. Let's break this down a little bit. This was only done after receiving all the backlash from it and the low player counts. And one thing I forgot to mention is that in the backdrop to all of this is Sega's looking at Creative Assembly, right? There's no way that Sega was not telling them, fix your fucking shit. Because CA is supposed to be one of their most profitable subsidiaries, smaller corporations they own. And now everything's going to shit. So you're going to tell me that this isn't some sort of PR statement to also let Sega know that they're trying to do something to fix it, even though it's just all bullshit? Keep that in mind too in the background. After receiving all the backlash on the forums, fumbling the PR and moderation on the forums, right? Banning people just indiscriminately. Doesn't matter if it was legitimate or not, just if it was negative, they're just getting banned. Threads closed that did not allow for discussion. And going mask off and admitting to going mask off. And now that the game has embarrassingly low levels of players, this PR statement is released. These aren't future fixes and changes that you need to fix, that you've missed. These are intentional fuck-ups. You just didn't realize they were fuck-ups till you received the backlash. Before we sign off from today's blog, we're going to talk about how we can include more of your voices in what we do. We want to expose more of what we do behind the scenes. So earlier I said that words matter, right? The kind of the words you use betray what the person who's writing it or approves it is trying to say. So, for example, expose implies something is being hidden. Now, it may not necessarily be some sort of nefarious secret, but it's something that you don't want other people to know. Versus, for example, if they had used the word share. We want to share more of what we do behind the scenes. Because it's not a secret, it's just we didn't think it was relevant. But now, we didn't think it was relevant, and this is a collaborative process because your feedback helps inform how the game's going to be. No, we want to expose more of what we do behind the scenes because previously we intentionally kept it from you because clearly we're doing something wrong, and that resulted in the backlash. So, this, you can say I'm reading into it too much, but as someone who does this as a profession, this is just very clearly another mistake on their part with their word choice, which is very sad considering that these people are supposed to have degrees in this, and they just choose these just really... Certain words can share a similar meanings, right? Expose and share. But the connotations are different, right? Like I said, connotations of those two words are different even though they kind of mean something similar. And that's what betrays what you're trying to say. Because deep down, that's what you really feel. It's almost like a Freudian slip. It's a tell. Now, our goal is to invest more in our player channels moving forward, introducing more voices from the studio who can speak to you directly about their work and how that relates to what you want from our titles, and most importantly, to keep listening to your feedback. This will all be a work in progress, so do bear with us, but this is our direction moving forward. Okay. So, once again, this is a goal. No commitment. If anything, it will be, in my opinion, some sort of media distraction from the shithole gameplay, right? Oh, we feel this personal connection to the people working on the game. They're listening to what we're doing, to our problems. I don't think this is sincere. I think even if this does get implemented, it's going to be more of a distraction, like I said. It's going to be more of a way to see what the issues are that people are complaining about in a way that seems like they're doing something about it. But then any fixes will be more towards the illusion of fixing it than actually fixing it. They don't want to spend too many resources fixing things that aren't generating money. So, once again, given their track record. And this being a work in progress in the direction moving forward, I don't know what that would even mean, because this is a standard in the industry, right? Many big titles do this already. When you're at the CA level, this is normal, right? You have people having these roundtable discussions. I mean, even RuneScape fucking does it. This isn't a fix. This is something you should have been doing already. And while it is a work in progress, you have the blueprint. Other games do this. Stop priming everyone with this is going to be shit, and they want to kind of see how far they can push you. How much work they have to actually do to get back to the numbers they want before overextending themselves and caring too much, right? putting too much effort into making everyone happy. They want to put just the right amount of effort to keep their bottom line there, but after that, who cares, right? So, well, it's a work in progress. We'll slowly get there, and once we get to that perfect point where it's minimal effort, maximum profit, just like before, that's what we care about. That's what this paragraph is reading. We again apologize for the missteps we've made. Once again, insincere. They were not missteps. All these things were intentional. They just bit them in the ass, and now they're trying to reframe it. The mistakes, once again, not a mistake, of Total War are a shared responsibility by all the leaders of the franchise, and while it may not seem like it at times, we are listening. This is also just insincere, and you can just wipe your ass with this, because people who are actually very good at the game, like Volan, who have actual experience in game development, like Volan, who are very direct about issues games have so that there is an actual resolution and someone works towards fixing things, Volan, is completely ostracized, attacked, pushed out. And it's not just Volan. He's the main face of this, but there's a lot of other people who also did this. Or even if it's not a lot, a good handful to where CA was on notice of these problems and just chose not to give a shit. And in fact, instead of actually caring, would just cut them off completely, gaslight them, and make them look like shit to the community, or at least allow the community to shit on them without any kind of correction or any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just leave it at that. They don't give a shit. They are not listening. They are ignoring you. They do not care. Okay. Sorry, I lost where I was. We really hope that the extra love we're pouring into the Warhammer 3 DLC, stop characterizing this as with emotion. You do not care about this because the game itself was shit. People who were playing it before it was even officially released were saying it's shit, and you still released it and did nothing about it until enough people complained. You do not love this. You do not care. You care about the bottom line. We really hope that our bottom line is fixed with the amount of effort, quote unquote, we're putting into Warhammer 3 DLC is how this really should read. Our several recent updates and the changes to Pharaoh show our heartfelt commitment to these games and to you. Okay, there's no heartfelt commitment to these games or to you. They have already explained to you that you are dog shit, that you do not care. You have no right to even speak about this, right? This is just a way, this is just course correction, this is just PR, this is just damage control. Do not fall for this. Any company that starts to use emotive language like this is just automatically insincere. Even the individuals who are going along with this, also insincere. This is not how you do this whatsoever. And no one cares. This is about the bottom line once again. Corporation, that's all they care about. If they weren't getting money, if they weren't making millions, they would not care. To begin with, right? They're making millions at first, now they're making less, they want to get back to millions. That's what I mean. And further, I'm not really sure what kind of love there is, because this has been controlled by certain sectors of the company. And the company only cares to soy milk the fan base. We know we have a lot of work to do, and that this one letter doesn't amount to any proof of the future. I just want to point out that this reads like an abusive partner that is telling their significant other what they want to hear after their significant other threatened to leave because they've voiced the problem so many times with no changes that they've now actually just decided to leave. And this is their last-ditch attempt to say, hey, listen, I know that what I did, or that what I have not been doing is what you want, and I know that what I'm saying now is not proof of anything I'll need to show you in the future, but I promise things are going to change. It's just like abuse 101. There's no intention to actually change anything. You'll need to see the change before you believe it. You will hear from us again on the changes coming to Shadows of Change, and on what to expect for Pharaoh when we return from the holidays. And you'll continue to hear from us on the Total War leadership team once we've settled back into the flow of the new year, and we'll keep bringing you more news on where we're at. So, once again, just telling you what you want to hear. There won't be any more quote-unquote transparency. It's just a fiction. It'll just be the fiction or illusion of one, right? So they'll share more information, but it won't be anything meaningful, maybe. It won't be anything worth knowing. It's just going to be, hey guys, I'll give you more transparency. Here's these relevant things that we're working on, or how the person who's programming this feels, or how the development team felt as they were making this. Like, who cares? Just make the game good. I shouldn't care about the personalities of who's making the game. I should care about the game. If the game is great, and there's extra quote-unquote content that lets me see behind the scenes to appreciate the game more, sure. But that's it. There's no weird parasocial shit I'm supposed to care about the development team. And honestly, it's not even 100% about transparency. Just make the game fucking good. What transparency do you need if the game just works, right? I mean, it's just not sincere. Also, while this is important to them, it's not important enough that they are going to do this now. They're going to wait till the next year, right? They're not so distraught, despite the tone of this whole blog, that they're going to dedicate all their not vacation time, but all the time to fixing this for you, because they fucked up so royally. It's, hey guys, we have these vague things that we're going to do to try to make it better. We're not really going to tell you. The dates that fixes come are going to be a little flexible depending on what's going on. And we're going to start working on this in the new year. You know, we know that you guys are off now and probably would like to play the game in a great working order. But, you know, just going to have to wait till next year. But also, listen, guys, we're on top of this problem, I promise. Where we make mistakes, once again, not a mistake. And then this next part of our journey, we will work hard to act faster to address them. Okay, once again, you do not need to act faster if the game just works, right? If the game works, your business model shouldn't be, I'm going to work as much as possible to fix all the issues, because those issues shouldn't fucking be there if it's done right the first time. Point blank. To iterate whilst we learn from those moments, and to always be taking steps in the right directions. We hope that you can find patience for us as we find our footing again. You never lost your footing. You never cared to begin with. And there's years and years of bullshit that just substantiate the fact that this has never been an unintentional thing. The backlash is just finally getting to you. You should have had this much sooner. We hope you all enjoy a peaceful holiday. Thank you for being with us in 2023 and for sharing in your love of Total War. We'll see you in 2024. You don't love the game. I don't even think most of you play the fucking game. You know what? The community should be asking these leadership people, right? This Roger Column and the leadership team to fucking upload themselves playing the game and see how fucking shit they are. Because that will tell you everything you need to fucking know about these people. They don't fucking care about the game. If these people played the game, right? If they actually played this game, they would not put up with the shit updates, because they themselves would be experiencing how shit the fucking game is. Right? This is just all insincere bullshit. Now, they all have these people here, you know, like, oh, this is the leadership team, guys. We're all behind this unified message. We're here to make it better. Oh, by the way, this guy is not going to even be with creative assembly anyway, by the way. So, don't know why he's even added here. Another insincere thing, because they're trying to hide that fact too, right? So, and just another indication that this is all bullshit. So, I anticipate a lot of you may disagree with me, but I don't care because I do this for a living, basically. So, if you disagree, leave it in the comments. Let me know. Maybe I'll respond. Maybe I could have made things clearer. Maybe I can clarify something for you. If you do agree, let me know. If there's anything I missed, or there's any other little things that maybe you've seen that you want to address, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm out.